Hi guys, welcome back to the Daily Dreamer. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out with me for a dream. Boy, oh boy, did I have some dreams. Okay, so I'm just going to get to it. So I wake up, come to, and I am in this house. It is a house that I am not familiar with, so it's a new playground for me. And it's real exciting because for some reason, this house has a whole hidden extra wing, if you will, in regards to the house itself. In this hidden wing, it was a bedroom, and it was a fully furnished bedroom as opposed to the rest of the house. The rest of the house was completely empty and dusty and whatnot, needed remodeled, whatever. It was just, there was nothing there. But in this hidden wing, room, if you will, it was fully furnished as though someone was living there and someone had just been there. It had a bed, a PlayStation, all the amenities. It was as though I was standing in a real bedroom. Okay, nonetheless, there's a lady there and she has got a child with her. And this child does not leave her side for anything. At one point, she ends up picking up the child. She's busy doing a lot of busy work. I don't know exactly what it was she was doing because she was running around, coming in and out of this room that I was mesmerized with. And I watched her, and she was very busy. She was cleaning up. She was, just doing all kinds of crazy things. I don't know what she did when she left the room, but when she came back, she was always busy. And I thought, okay, well, this is interesting. I did happen to notice when I looked over to the left that the PlayStation seemed to be smoldering. We were able to actually put it out, but she panicked at first. And then when I realized all you had to do was unplug it, it took care of the issue. Nonetheless, the next thing she said was that we had to go. I said, where are we going? And she says, we have to go. Just follow me. And I did. I followed her. But where I followed her to was like across a continent. It was really weird. We show up in this shops, and they were like small mom and pop shops. But the vibe that I got was one of your guard needed to be up. There were gentlemen there. They didn't seem as though they were too friendly. But then again, they weren't evil either. They were just more or less looking out for themselves, if that makes sense. There was a gentleman to my left who was eyeing me. There was another gentleman over here who was trying to talk to me and give me directions to get out of these shops. Meanwhile, the mother still had that child with her on her hip now, was coming in and out of the shop that I was in. And as these two gentlemen were talking, and this one was sizing me up, she had things she had to do. She was just constantly busy throughout this whole dream. And at one point, she was asked to bring the child to like a daycare or something somewhere for someone else to watch. She chose not to do that. She would not let go of this child. And they said, but you're going to be busy. She says, I'm busy all the time. I'm not letting go of this child. It's not happening. She looked at me, pointed the way out. In other words, she told me basically, she conveyed a thought, ignore these guys. If you want out, go that way. I've got to go. And she did. She took off again. I don't know what happened to her. But as I went to go get out of the shop, because there was just too much going on, the only way out of this shop for some reason was through this little cubby hole. And it turns out that, this is interesting, this little cubby hole, I had to sit, it was like a roller coaster. So the track of a roller coaster, only it was my body that had to lay on this track. And I had to keep my arms and my feet tucked in the whole time. There was a saw that would come down, okay? And it wasn't meant to hurt you, it was just meant to scare you. And so I noticed the saw coming down as though it was going to cut you in half. And I just kind of shook my head like, really? I put my arms in and kept to myself, and I was able to pass the saw. Not a problem. But as I was passing the saw, then what happened was as I'm coming down the tube, I was whisked back to consciousness. So that was really interesting. What a dream, right? So, of course, that woke me up at 2, and I had to sit there and just contemplate that one because it was just so much for me. I wonder what happened to the mother. Anyways, so what came up for me on this one? Oh, you're going to love to hear this one, guys. Let's go discuss it, shall we? All right, guys, so what came up for me? Compassion. That is what I felt the whole time with the mom and the baby. She was too busy doing everything for everybody else. Everyone else was, running their stores. They were doing whatever it was that they were doing, serving themselves. The mother, of course, had compassion for everybody. She wanted to make sure that everybody had what they needed in order to continue and into the dream. She was helping these guys communicate. She was helping the baby. She was helping me. I mean, she just had so much going on, and yet she still found time to help. I mean, that is nothing but pure compassion for other people. In this day and age, we are also plugged in to our information technologies. The evolution of consciousness has yet to catch up with the technological progress of things. There are people still sleeping in their little slumbers. They are caught up in the egotistical factor of it's all about me and it's always going to be about me, so he cares about you. Let me go ahead and plug in and put that rant on Facebook, right? We all love to do that. We all love to rant. We all love to, express our problems and our woes to the world as though they're going to care. Well, finding yourself in a world where no one seems to just basically give a damn anymore unless it benefits them, well, let's just be honest. It's exhausting. And no amount of sleep will ever replenish you from these types of people, right? Sleep is not the answer anyways for the solution of the egotistical world out there. It's actually meditation, but who's got time for that, right? In a world that demands so much of your time and your thoughts, how do you ever find the time to give yourself some you time so that you can replenish any compassion at all, if you have it, for humanity? Well, by golly, folks, that takes a moment, doesn't it? Because in order to have compassion for people, you have to find compassion for you. And you know how you do that? You take your 5 minutes a day. In fact, you demand it. Because out there, depleting your compassion, what little compassion you have, it's exhausting. So you have to demand your time. Because if you don't, you're just going to cave in. And you're going to become just as angry as they are. We don't want that. We did not sign up for that, do we? People love to take. And if you have compassion, they are going to suck every bit of it from you. They will leave you empty. They will drain you emotionally. They will make you feel withdrawn and maybe sometimes even angry about it. Well, it's not hard to get overwhelmed and feeling like you are in a sea of piranhas out there when you have to put on that mask that you do each and every day. Most people, they're living on autopilot. They're just literally trying to get by and survive. Technological progress has provided many solutions, but you know what? It has done nothing but create more problems. As much as it's solved, it's created more. People are glued to their smartphones. They're mostly communicating with others through texting or messaging. I mean, I'm a texter. I don't even like to talk anymore. Their attention span, that's no more. That's gone. Forget that one. The heart chakras, they're diminishing because the feeling in the realm for others, well, it's counterproductive to the information world. So therefore, we're shutting ourselves off from feeling because we're becoming more and more plugged in. And that's not healthy, folks. We didn't sign up for this job because we were weak and because we wanted to be filled with nothing but information. No. We need to remember here, we don't want to be distracted by all the technological overstimulation that these kids are nowadays. Collectively, it seems like we are at a breaking point. Yes, it does. These are challenging times, let me tell you, especially if you are raising kids, and even more so if you have a teenager. But we love them nonetheless. Every challenge and struggle provides, though, for us an opportunity to help us awaken from that collective slumber. Each and every challenge, no matter how detrimental it may be to your heart chakra to feel that empathy, it is always a new challenge that we signed up for. The struggle and internal friction that we may experience when we are trying to fit into society that has become normalized with pathological values It has pushed some of us into questioning our world, our culture, even people in general. How do you feel for these people? I'm talking about the people that just make you want to scream and shout. Those who refuse to see why they suffer on a daily basis. Those that are so ignorant that they refuse to change because they're afraid of change. But they have that opinion about you, though, each and every day. Where do you find more compassion? I'll tell you, at the end of the day, maybe even in the middle of the day, your cup, like mine, will runneth dry. Yes, it will. We all have these moments, we all have these days, we all have those people around us that continue to drain us energetically. Well, I'll tell you, last night I had a moment of realization. I realized that no one in this world hears anymore. We might as well be doing sign language because none of us even listen to each other anymore. And as I sat there and I spewed my word vomit on my piece of paper, because that's what I do, I'm a writer and I love to word vomit and I love to definitely write it all out. I exhausted my daily rant and my wrist, of course. And then I sat and I reread my 10-page essay on the disappointment of humanity. And it dawned on me as I looked up and I saw the time that the world and the universe was communicating right back with love for me. As I saw the time go to 555. And it brought a smile to my face. And I just had a moment of realization that I didn't sign up for this job because I am weak. I didn't sign up to help others wake up from their cycles because I'm not a strong individual or that I didn't think that I could do it. Oftentimes, this journey right here, each and every day, is met with ridicule, it is met with resistance, and it's met with attacks from others. And it is a very lonely road to trod, let me tell you. There are forces here at work that do not wish for people and humanity to awaken. It's a battle, literally, of light versus dark. It is a war that is taking place both within and without ourselves. And inside of ourselves, instead of caving in and giving up to the notion of it's never going to happen, I take a deep breath and I go a little bit deeper. And instead of drowning out that little voice inside that says, just never mind, put things on hold. Instead of avoiding the strategies to jump into the rat race, I know that I am going to stop falling for the following of the crowd, and I am going to continue to seek truth. I am going to continue to try to understand the world and ourselves and myself in the process. Frustration and anger, those are natural responses to the state of the world right now. At a time we feel helpless in our desire to help make this planet a better place, sometimes we just want to scream at the state of things and shake our fist to the heavens. Oh, it would be a wonderful thing for us to be able to see more and more people shed their masks so that we can see their awakening moment, so that we can see them become vulnerable, but heaven forbid, that would just instill more fear into us because heaven forbid we're vulnerable, We don't want to be ridiculed anymore. We don't want to be judged. We're tired of being judged. We're tired of being shown weakness. And we're tired of being weak. Fear is a natural emotion, though. But you know what? A warrior is not fearless. A warrior accepts fear and as natural as it is, and they act anyways. They understand that fear is part of the journey, and anger is part of the journey. It's not necessarily a frequency to be conquered, but using it as a companion on the adventure to embrace the unknown, that is where I'm going to gain my strength. I have these moments of anger and rage and frustration and disappointment, but I'm not going to cave in and I'm not going to allow it to overtake me. I'm going to dig deeper, as you should. Dig deeper. Find that love and compassion and empathy for those people. We all have fears and worries. I have fears and worries, and my mind usually takes them up and runs with it. And that is a very self-defeating mechanism in itself. And to constantly have to keep yourself out of that vibration, it is a work in progress. Shame and guilt has always been a big part of some people's makeup for all of their lives. Starting in childhoods, when the parents always say, you should be ashamed of yourself. I mean, how many of us have heard that? Naturally, as a result, we've obviously developed masks and defense mechanisms due to the fear of being hurt again. And now, guess what? We possess a lack of confidence and courage in our own magnificent abilities. And to that I say, that is shameful. I have always, as a result, been hard on myself. And because of that, I can be hard on others. I'm a to-the-point kind of a girl. And this can be traced back to the dealings of the guilt and the shame in my life from when I was a kid. I'm constantly I can't even say the word because it's got me so wrapped up. I'm always analyzing myself to the point where I even diminish myself constantly. Warriors have those moments. We are not above and beyond that. And it is okay. We always find something wrong with ourselves. We repeat the not good enough mantra. My inner critic has always been way harder on myself than any of the external critics have. For the longest time, up until my late 30s, I even felt guilty for feeling good and happy. When I was in a more positive state in my mind would come up with a self-diminishing thought of, oh my gosh, something bad has to happen. Because life cannot possibly be this good. I don't deserve it. Why would I ever think that? Life is good. And I do deserve it, just like you do. So yeah, I'm putting myself out there as being vulnerable to you because guess what? I am. But I'm okay with that. People can judge me, they can ridicule me. I don't really care anymore because it is no longer about what they think. It is about finding the empathy inside here to be able to give it to you people out there. Because you people out there need it more than I need it for myself. So warriors, it's okay to feel vulnerable. It is okay to embrace the fear and the anger and rage, just as long as you don't let it get, on the opposite side of you. As long as you walk with it and make it your companion. This is not something that's easily accomplished. Okay? You have to demand the time for yourself. That is how you take care of yourself. 5 minutes a day, I know it doesn't seem like much, but my gosh, in the busy hustle of every day, 5 minutes, that can seem like a lifetime. So folks, the only way you're going to be able to do this is if you take back your time for you. You sit there and you understand that you have to deal with the state of ignorance out there with a state of love and understanding in here. Okay? We all know that out there, egos rule. We all have egos, like we do hairdos. They change every day. Egos that love to fight and engage with incessant feelings of righteousness, the attacks, the defensive modes that we are always in. We all have egos and we feel the need to criticize and put others down, a desire to punish them. That is what we do. And that is not to say that we should abandon the principle of standing up for ourselves when people do that to us. Sometimes you just can't turn the other cheek when people rattle the cage, but sometimes you can. Those of us that took on the mission to find space where we came from, we have to find that space, to find more compassion. Okay? It is our place to deal with that. We got to help spread it. People who hurt us oftentimes project their own pain and their own suffering onto us. And occasionally, in turn, we then project it onto someone else. And that's not good. We have to be aware of that cycle. That's where we have to stop it. Sometimes the compassionate response is simply to remove yourself completely from the connection, not engage in it anymore. And basically that means you walking away so that you can take care of yourself and not trying to convince the other person of anything in any way. Sometimes there just simply cannot be a resolution, and that is okay. And thus the non-resolution is the resolution. There's been a tough lesson here for me. I usually want to talk things out with people and I want them to understand, but sometimes it just can't be that way. I've had to learn the hard way that that's not possible. And so for my own peace of mind, I find that when I accept that no one is really trying to hurt me when they project their hurtful words or their cruel behavior on my way, I find that when I accept their words and not take it personal, I am able to accept their projections as a way of showing me how truly deeply they are suffering. When I look at it from that point of view, I no longer am angry. I no longer am filled with rage. I have to understand. I accept the lashing out of others. It doesn't require me to lash out and match that vibration, but it doesn't reflect back on anything about me as far as my shadow self goes. I can simply now take it and then give them the love and empathy that they need. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow every act to try to inspire me to give a more loving response. And I encourage you to do the same. I am not perfect. Nope, I'm not perfect in matching this every time. It is exhausting, and every day, though, is a new day for me. Every day is a better day than the one before. And every day makes me stronger so that I can go out there and deal with it. This doesn't justify anyone's irrational or ignorant behavior. It just means that I'm definitely not putting myself in situations where I have to compromise my well-being. But in those situations that arise, it does allow me to go wherever my qualities and my talents are appreciated. And all while doing so, I'm acting upon my soul's highest wisdom, if you will. It's a way of energetically helping me help those who suffer to find their way home. Many of us tend to be very hard on ourselves when we use spiritual or esoteric teachings, even psychology, to keep pulling out the emotional weeds. But you know what? Sometimes we forget to water the existing soul flowers that have already been in our garden. So we have to remember to take those 5 minutes for ourselves. When we get in touch with our vulnerability without judging ourselves, we heal the wounded child within, and we discover that we all have the same fears, the same issues, the same struggles with ourselves. And the more and more that we share our deeply vulnerable moments with everybody, the more that we help each other, the more that we can actually relate to other people and that they can relate to us. And it gives us generally a very authentic, compassionate manner. And in that way, we are co-creative in helping to heal each other and the world that we live in. And that then becomes a more compassionate approach, which obviously transcends any intellectual information warfare going on out there from people being plugged in. In this digital age, it is so easy to get distracted by the world out there that we end up losing our human connection to each other during these periods of time. It's not to say that we should ignore the outside world and become preoccupied with ourselves, with the inner journey, because we know, after all, it's all about the authenticity, the balance of it. The inner and outer work go hand in hand. Folks, when you feel depleted and you need a moment to refill from all of those who took it from you without even so much as a thank you, take a moment. Check back in with your emotional IQ. Sit and take a breath or two or three. Refill yourselves with the love that you have for yourself and the words that you need to hear. We all ache to be self-expressed, to be heard. But deep down in our bellies, folks, where our power burns the brightest, we know that we cannot be of service, we cannot be free, we cannot truly help others if our own light itself is diminished. As Carl Jung once stated, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves. So, folks, take 5 minutes a day, tell yourself how amazing you are and how much love you hold for yourself. That way, when you deal with those angry, emotional, irrational, unstable people out there, next time you can just simply smile and give the kind words that they need to hear. Folks, until next dream, thanks so much for joining me and many blessings to you.